and thank you for joining us in our bulletin this Sunday morning. Welcome to the newscast. I am Dai Chang, and here are the headlines for today. High-level visit deepens bilateral ties with Japan. Small and medium-sized enterprises require provincial policies for development. And Chang'an Tourism Complex, a boost to Ningling tourism. We now begin with the top news. Party General Secretary Nguyễn Phú Trọng has successfully concluded his first official visit to Japan. A joint vision statement on Vietnam-Japan relations has been adopted by the Vietnamese party leader and Japan's Prime Minister Shinzo Abe. In addition, many cooperative agreements in various fields were signed, representing the strengthened relationship between the two nations. Let's review some of the highlights of this trip in the following report.
During the 4-day visit, Party General Secretary Nguyễn Phú Trọng and his delegation filled their schedules with numerous meetings with Japanese leaders and representatives from various societal groups. The most remarkable event was a meeting with Japan's Prime Minister Shinzo Abe, where both leaders emphasized the importance of adopting a joint vision statement on Vietnam-Japan relations, aiming to deepen the comprehensive and strategic partnerships between the two countries.
Vietnam and Japan relation is not only for partnership, but also for friendship. I believe that after this visit, the relation between the two countries will reach a new level, with increased political trust, cooperation in economic development, as well as cooperation in solving regional and global issues.
For his part, Japan's Prime Minister Shinzo Abe affirmed Japan's commitment to assisting Vietnam in accelerating socio-economic development.
Japan will continue to provide assistance to help Vietnam increase its law enforcement capacity in the sea. In addition, Japan will also provide a 100 billion yen loan for Vietnam to improve infrastructure, seaports and highways. The nations have also signed agreements on long-term cooperation in agriculture.
During this trip, 6 agreements have been signed to enhance cooperations in agriculture, security, investment and trade, as well as transportation.
In the future, we will continue to carry out many projects that are funded and assisted by Japan, including a climate change management project in Bến Tre province and a fishery logistics center in Khánh Hòa province, among others. During this visit from the Party General Secretary, both sides agreed on initiatives to foster the Vietnam-Japan strategic partnership, with a focus on strengthening political trust, economic cooperation, and stronger mutual support in regional and global issues. Vietnam and Japan have enjoyed a long-standing cooperation and achieved many goals. Our economies are not competing, but complementing each other. With a suitable strategy, they can connect and support each other to achieve higher growth. Japan has supported many of our important infrastructure projects, including Long-Thanh Port, North-South Express Railway, and many others in big cities. They have contributed to changing the face of our infrastructure and accelerating the country's socio-economic development.
The successful result achieved during the visit of the Vietnamese party leader to Japan will create a new momentum for the relationship between the two countries, paving ways for the partnership to grow into more trust and mutual understanding.
Party General Secretary Nguyễn Phú Trọng arrived in Hanoi on the afternoon of September 18, successfully concluding his 4-day official visit to Japan. The visit was made at the invitation of Prime Minister Shinzo Abe. According to international experts, the visit contributed to strengthening cooperation and friendship between the two nations.
For Japan, maintaining relations with Vietnam has strategic importance. I have noticed that each visit by Vietnamese leaders, especially party leaders, marks a new stage in the development of relations between the two countries. Japan has increasingly recognized the role of Vietnam, as well as ASEAN, in the region's peace and security. In all aspects, Vietnam-Japan relations have been solidified over time. With the Party General Secretary's official visit, it has continued to thrive, not only in politics, but also in the economic, cultural, educational, and military sectors. It promises Vietnam a bright future in the progress of international integration.
In my opinion, since World War II, the two countries have shown interest in each other and a desire to enhance mutual understanding. We have a long history of friendship, and I think that these visits from the Vietnamese party leader to Japan will mark a special milestone in the two nations' relations.
Currently, the relationship between Vietnam and Japan is very good. It has become an extensive strategic partnership. Every year, the two countries' leaders pay each other frequent visits. So I think that this partnership will continue to blossom in the future.
In other news, Deputy Prime Minister Vũ Văn Ninh is now on a working visit to Europe. On Friday, he was received by Vice President of the European Commission, OEC, Valdis Dombrovskis in Brussels, Belgium. At the meeting, the Deputy Prime Minister confirmed that Vietnam always considers the European Union one of its most important partners. He also asked the European Commission to help accelerate the signing of the EU-Vietnam Free Trade Agreement by the end of this year. Deputy Prime Minister Vũ Văn Ninh also sought the Union's support in recognizing Vietnam's market economy and for Vietnam's initiatives on issues of mutual concern such as response to climate change, disaster risk reduction, water resources, food and energy security, and sustainable development. The Central Coastal Province of Quảng Ngãi has approved more fishermen to access soft loans under the government's Decree 67. Accordingly, 6 local fishermen now have been confirmed to be eligible to borrow money from banks to build new fishing vessels, including 3 iron-covered ships, 2 wooden boats, and 1 composite vessel. The Quảng Ngãi People's Committee urged local commercial banks to actively assist these fishermen in accessing loans faster. Government's Decree 67 provides basic policies to boost fishery development, including supporting fishermen in building high-capacity, iron-covered ships designed for offshore fishing. Now, 73,000 enterprises were founded or resumed operation during the first 8 months of this year, while the number of dissolved or suspended enterprises reached around 45,000. Although the number of enterprises is still increasing, most of the dissolved or suspended enterprises are small and medium-sized enterprises with a registered capital of under $450,000. According to experts, part of the reason is because SMEs are facing many difficulties, such as lack of capital, increasing wages, and input material costs.
Vietnam is integrating into the international market more deeply. As a result, Vietnamese enterprises are more vulnerable to policy change by larger nations. The recent devaluation of the Chinese yuan is a typical example.
The exchange rate between Vietnam dong and US dollar has risen lately. As a result, our input material cost is increasing from 5 to 10%, and our profit is dropping by a similar percentage.
Lack of capital is a common issue for SMEs. As bad debts refuse to go away, banks are tightening loan conditions. It is getting more difficult for SMEs to get loans.
Banks should evaluate the feasibility of enterprises' business plans. If they are feasible, banks should facilitate enterprises in accessing loans in different ways.
One solution being utilized by SMEs is to scale their production.
We used to have 150 employees. Now that figure is only half. As we do not sell products as well as before, we have to cut down on expenses.
Cheap labor costs will soon not to be an advantage for Vietnam's labor market, as the minimum wage is increasing. This affects businesses.
Competition is getting more severe. Increasing wages affects enterprises' competitive ability. If enterprises can't compete, they have to cut down on employees, which is no good for laborers. The percentage and method for the rise of minimum wage should be examined carefully. The private sector is a pillar of the economy. If the sector doesn't grow as expected, it will affect the sustainability and development of the market.
SMEs account for 95% of businesses in Vietnam and contribute greatly to the state budget and job creation.
SMEs really need protection and support from the government. Enterprises can advise the government in making preferential policies.
In the context of economic integrations and fierce competition, preferential policies by the government will play a crucial role in facilitating SMEs.
According to a Manila bulletin, Vietnam won a bid in Quezon City on September 17 to sell 450,000 tons of rice to the Philippines. The Philippines National Food Authority concluded the bidding for the import of 750,000 tons of rice, 450,000 tons from Vietnam, and 300,000 tons from Thailand. Vietnam won the bid with an offered price of $426.6 per ton. Rice exports from Vietnam to the Philippines will be split into 3 shipments, beginning from November this year until the first quarter of 2016. Ho Chi Minh City will have about 46,000 job positions available in the third quarter of this year. This is an estimated number reported by the city's Center of Human Resources Forecast and Labor Market Information. According to this report, the demand for high-quality labor in the city has increased, with a large number of jobs available for professional and experienced laborers. Enterprises in the city have been told to focus on improving their human resources in order to meet competitive integration standards, including requirements to join the ASEAN Economic Community by the end of this year. In the next part of VTV News, Clean Up the World, the campaign that stresses the role of environmental protection in rural areas for advanced and sustainable production. And Chang'an Tourism Complex, a boost to Ninh Bình tourism. This and more coming up.
Exotic Vietnam is an intriguing blend of many charms. This land is where all manner of stunning landscapes await like a visual feast, rivaled only by the beauty of its people and their abundantly rich tradition and culture. Here is where you can relive the past in richest color or live it up in the bright lights of the big city. With so much more to offer, Vietnam is simply unforgettable.
You are tuning into VTV News Live. An exhibition opens in Ho Chi Minh City on Saturday to mark the 70th anniversary of Southern Resistance Day on September 23rd. The exhibition takes place on Nguyễn Huệ Walking Street in District 1. On this day 70 years ago, the Southern people started to fight against the French, who intended to invade Vietnam for a second time following the August Revolution. Young volunteers from the north and the central part of the country also marched southward to join the fight. The national launch of Vietnam's Clean Up the World campaign kicked off in the northern province of Hưng Yên on Saturday. The Ministry of Natural Resources and Environment has chosen the theme Take Action for a Sustainable Rural Environment for this year's campaign in order to stress the role of environmental protection in rural areas for advanced and sustainable production. Clean Up the World campaign, which was initiated by Australia in 1993, has been launched by the United Nations Environment Programme globally in the third week of September each year. The campaign has become an important annual international event which attracts the participation of millions of people across the world. In Vietnam, the campaign has drawn the participation of over 60 provinces and cities across the country. It is estimated that only about 20 Indo-Chinese tigers are left in the wild in Vietnam. This number was revealed at a workshop on preventing and combating wildlife trafficking held recently in Ho Chi Minh City. Representatives from the United States Agency for International Development, or USAID, expressed their concern that this wildlife animal will be extinct if no proper protective measures are applied. Participants proposed to develop a legal mechanism on wildlife trading control. According to the Forest Ranger Department under the Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development, an average of 1,095 wildlife protection regulation violations have occurred annually over the last 5 years. During this period, nearly 60,000 endangered species were seized. In other news, a Chang'an complex in the northern Ninh Bình province was recognized as a World Cultural and Natural Heritage Site by UNESCO in June this year. Being Vietnam's first mixed heritage, it has created a boost for the province's tourism sector. The following report will give more details.
Chang'an was first developed as a tourism complex in 2008. After 7 years, the site is now a popular destination for both domestic and international tourists. It accounts for 2/3 of the province's total tourists. Together with Bai Ding Pagoda and Hoa Li Ancient Citadel, Chang'an has given the local tourism sector a new look.
Very beautiful place, and even the rain is very beautiful here. And I thanks for everything.
Here is a very beautiful place. It's romantic and I feel very interesting, and I hope many people come here, many tourists, and very beautiful.
In the first 8 months of this year, the number of tourists to Ninh Bình province reached 4 million, a 34% rise compared to the same period last year. In response to this sharp increase, the local authorities opened tourism services and conservation training courses for nearly 1,000 locals.
Since the heritage recognitions by UNESCO, there have been more tourists coming here. For boat drivers like us, our incomes has doubled from 2 to 3 million Vietnam dongs to about 5 to 6 million Vietnam dongs now. This has improved our family's living standard.
Our main focuses for the tourism sector are ecotourism and spiritual tourism, and we are building our services based on the local community. We are creating new tourism routes and connecting different sites in the complex to suit the preferences of tourists. Moreover, we are working with archaeologists to study the lives of people here in ancient times.
Effective cooperation in heritage management has helped Ninh Bình become one of the localities with the highest tourism growth in Vietnam. The province has just been chosen to receive further investment to develop into one of the nation's key tourism spots.
A parachute festival called Flying on the Golden Season took place in the northern province of Yên Bái on Saturday. The event drew the participation of 200 parachute pilots from many Asian and European countries. They flew around the Khao Pha Pass in Mù Cang Chải district, which is well known for its magnificent scenery, especially during harvest season. They had a chance to see the beautiful golden terraced fields, majestic mountain ranges, and small villages from a special vantage point. The event aims to showcase Mù Cang Chải district and Yên Bái province to the world. And now it's the time to look back on the highlights of this week's news.
General Secretary of the Communist Party of Vietnam Nguyễn Phú Trọng and his entourage arrived in Tokyo on Tuesday for a 3-day visit in the country at the invitation of Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe. This was the first official visit to Japan by Nguyễn Phú Trọng as the party leader. Vietnam's party General Secretary Nguyễn Phú Trọng held talks with Prime Minister Shinzo Abe on Tuesday. After the talks, the two sides issued a joint statement on Japanese-Vietnamese relations. The two sides confirmed that Vietnam and Japan shared many fundamental interests as mutually important partners, and that the development of one country would facilitate that of the other. The countries shared the intention to connect the two economies in a sustainable and long-term way, with a focus on connecting economic development strategies, production capacity, and human resources on the principles of complementarity and mutual assistance and benefit. They expressed their determination to continue working closely together for an early conclusion of negotiations of the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership, or RCEP, and the Trans-Pacific Partnership, or TPP. Vietnam and Japan also expressed serious concerns over recent and ongoing developments in the East Sea. They emphasized that coastal states are required to follow international laws, including the law of the sea, to refrain from unilateral actions that would change the status quo.
On Wednesday morning, Party General Secretary Nguyễn Phú Trọng met Japanese Emperor Akihito at the Imperial Palace in Tokyo. On the same day, General Secretary Trọng was also received by leaders of the Japanese Liberal Democratic Party, the new Komeito Party, and President of Japan's Public Diplomacy Council. Continuing his Japan visit, General Party Secretary Nguyễn Phú Trọng met with leaders of the Japanese Diet, the Japanese Communist Party, and the Democratic Party of Japan.
Prime Minister Nguyễn Tấn Dũng attended a ceremony launching the potassium chloride salt project in Kham Muộn on September 13th. Vietnam's largest project in another country is being developed here to foster economic, trade and investment cooperation between Vietnam and Laos. Continuing his working visit, Prime Minister Nguyễn Tấn Dũng met with Laos senior leaders on Monday in Vientiane. During talks with Party General Secretary and State President Chumali Saison, both sides emphasized the increasingly trustworthy and closer political ties as demonstrated by the exchange of visits at all levels and under various forms, as well as mutual support in hosting international and regional interparliamentary events. During talks between the two prime ministers, the two countries agreed to work to effectively implement the new trade agreement and the agreement on the cross-border trade of goods and services, while seeking to increase trade to $2 billion in 2015. After the talks, the two prime ministers witnessed the signing of a governmental memorandum of understanding on strategic cooperation in transport from 2016 to 2025 with a vision for 2030. During his visit, Prime Minister Nguyễn Tấn Dũng also met with National Assembly Chairman Pani Yathotu.
Deputy Prime Minister Winston Phúc began his official visit to China on Tuesday. At the meeting with China's Vice Premier Zhang Gao, Deputy Prime Minister Phúc stressed that Vietnam appreciated and wanted to develop the comprehensive strategic partnership between the two countries. Chinese Vice Premier Zhang Gaoli said that China valued relations and pledged to make efforts to develop a Vietnam-China comprehensive strategic partnership. Vietnam's Deputy Prime Minister also attended the Vietnam-China Economic and Trade Cooperation Forum in Beijing on Thursday. During his time in Guangxi, China, Deputy Prime Minister Phúc attended the opening ceremony of the 2015 China-ASEAN Expo and the China-ASEAN Business and Investment Summit in the Chinese city of Nanning on Friday. The expo, which is hosting over 2,200 enterprises from China and ASEAN, is scheduled to run until Monday.
The 11th Asia-Pacific Conference on Human Genetics kicked off on Thursday in Hanoi. Representatives from 20 countries attended the event. The workshop provided comprehensive updates for scientists, physicians, and health professionals who are working in the field of human genetics and managing people with genetic disease and congenital anomalies across the Asia-Pacific region. Experts also shared their experiences in the application of prenatal diagnostic, neonatal screening, and congenital metabolic and hereditary disorders. The event was aimed at improving treatment quality and options for patients.
And just before we conclude our bulletin, let's take a look at our updated weather forecast from cities around the world. The weather forecast has just wrapped up this live edition of VTV News. In the meantime, do log on to vtv4.vn or youtube.com/vtv4go for more of our programs. And we'll be back at 3 p.m. Hanoi time with more news and updates, so don't forget to check it out. I'm Dai Chang in Hanoi, and once again, thank you very much for joining us. Goodbye for now.